Welcome, everyone, to the Cauldron of the Quantum Field, a cosmic tapestry where we will weave profound conversations of ancient wisdom and multi-dimensional magic with the quantum physics and energy architecture of the universe. This gathering is designed to hold space for language and stories to flow through that ignite our innate remembrance of what it means to be connected far beyond linear time and space, and what this means for us in our shared humanity as we co-create a future full of compassion, peace, and unity for all from the unique strands that only we can bring to this divine and beautiful spiderweb of life. Kia ora, my name is Kathleen Nora Te Matatuhi Bauer, and I'm really honored and very lit up for you all today as I introduce the beautiful Baljit Rayat. Welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Mhm. Yeah, we have an amazing topic today. I'm going to get into Baljit's bio first. So, Baljit is a certified sexologist, authentic Tantra practitioner, intuitive mentor, DJ, and producer. Baljit takes her clients on a journey to rediscover their purpose, gifts, and talents by connecting them back to their sexual power so they can express their true potential. She's able to bridge a connection to what is happening for someone sexually and how that relates to them on a soul level. By looking at patterns that no longer serve them, she works with them to unlock their deepest desire to create prosperity, peace, and embodiment. Committed to raising the vibration of humanity, Baljit has worked with thousands of people worldwide to uplevel their lives by uncovering the truths of who they are at their core, creating profound results in their businesses and relationships. And she believes everything in this world is energy, and getting to the root of desire by connecting people back to their sexual power causes a powerful ripple that spans all areas of life. And so, our topic for today, healing your sexual energy through the Akashic field to create deeper connection with your multi-dimensional self. Can you please tell us all, Baljit, like the theme, the essence of this topic and why you chose it?
Yeah. So, with sexual energy, it gets left a lot as the side dish versus the main dish around when it comes to healing. And sometimes people may just reference sexual energy as just the physical byproduct of sexuality, intimacy, physical intimacy, and having orgasms. Our sexual energy goes even beyond that. Those are just the byproducts that we can experience when we're really tuned in with our sexual energy. Our sexual energy is also about our creativity, our deep innate wisdom, and our deep level of intuition as well. So, through different kinds of programming, such as societal, religious, cultural, parental, we've all had these different kinds of programming that has repressed our sexual energy or made us disconnect from it, or I call it misdirect it. And so the byproduct of that is that then we become disconnected from our truth. We become disconnected from who we are, our identity, our purpose, our mission. And so how the Akashic Records really comes in is, for those of you that don't know what the Akashic Records are the records of your soul. It's like an etheric library, is what I call it. And it records every word, thought, action, and event. And it's very different from a psychic reading because a psychic will tell you one trajectories, but the reality is we have many trajectories. And we can choose the least joyous path, the mediocre path, or the most joyous path. So when we are able to access our Akashic records and ask the proper questions and receive that guidance, we're able to find out what our blocks are and the root cause of these blocks, and that shows up in our lives. So how that ties in with sexual energy is, you know, over the surface, you might have some relationship issues, or you might feel really lost with your purpose, your mission, your creativity, or you feel like you have no inner fire, no spark whatsoever. Or maybe you don't feel like you belong here on this planet, or maybe there's visibility issues. Sexual energies plays such a big key role in this because it is about being seen, it's about being creative, it's about expression as well. So when we heal these aspects around our sexual energy and we feel safe enough to connect with it and cultivate it, then the byproduct is then we align to our mission, we align to our gifts and talents. We're able to safely express ourselves in this world and feel safe in our bodies as well. So it's a very multi-dimensional way of healing because it's not only in this, focusing on the physical body, it's also focusing on the emotional body, the mental body, the all etheric body as well, and healing all these different aspects of ourselves.
Beautiful. And I received this visual of like this library with all of these dusty old books, and then this taboo area, which is the area that has all the books on our sexual alchemy and sexual power. And what you're talking about with the Akashic records is this completely other system available to us outside of our physical or emotional or mental realm. Can you please talk about kind of a bridge of how this Akashic record library helps with the physical symptoms and emotional symptoms and mental?
Yeah, so everything is energy. And when we look at how most of us has been raised in the Western culture, we kind of look at the physical symptoms first. And it's like, here, take a pill. Hopefully the symptoms will go away, but the symptoms can just keep repeating. It's like you're masking the actual root thing that needs to shift. So if you think about the Akashic records, it's kind of like applying the Eastern method of looking at energy first versus the physical. And when we look at the energy first, the energy then manifests into our emotional body and then our mental process, and then it manifests into the physical. So, for example, if someone has had, and I work with a lot of women who have had fibroids or ovarian cysts, instead of just trying to only heal the physical symptoms itself, even when they've tried, it just keeps showing up. So it's like, okay, let's go back to the energetic of how that began. And with the Akashic records, it's like that etheric library, like you mentioned about that dusty book. It's like, okay, well, let's take a look, intuitively, track back. What does the fibroids represent, or what does the cyst represent? And being able to try back and listen to what the fibroids or the cyst are trying to tell you as well, because those are messengers. And so there's an energy behind it. And in the records, the beauty of it all is that it gets revealed of what it actually represents in energy. And for example, a common thing with fibroids is like if someone experienced a miscarriage or had an abortion or never been able to have children, or they felt like they've had to mother a parent, it's like, and that has not healed within themselves. It's like they'll still mother that as a metaphor in their womb until they're ready to release that and shift that and heal that. Then what happens is that the emotional body is able to process it. The mental body is like, oh, this makes sense. And then is able to metabolize it. And then physically, everything metabolizes. And sometimes I apply somatic practices as well to help bridge the working in the etherics of the Akashic records to somatically help to work with the fight or flight symptoms, the freeze or the fawn symptoms as well. And so once someone's able to metabolize that of what's happening energetically and make sense of it, then that's how the shifts happen in their body physically.
And this is something so important that's not taught to us in the West is how significant each event is that happens to us. You know, kind of you have a miscarriage, okay, it's very sad, but then you just move on and we haven't been taught or we're remembering now, but there's a sacred and there's a when you have a ritual or a ceremony or add sacredness to these events in your life, like does that enable these energy to move so it doesn't turn into something physical?
Yeah, because it becomes stagnant when you're not able to metabolize certain, trauma, things that happen in your life. It stores as blocks. It's like or patterns in your body and your relationships and energetically as well. So that's why I do like to bring in a bit of the somatics of the trauma responses as well, because we've all experienced either a macro or micro trauma in our life. And then when you're able to thaw that out, then you're able to move that energy. But when the energy is stagnant, it will loop as like a pattern that just continues over and over. And it can be really frustrating because you're like, well, I'm trying to figure this out. So that's why going into the records can be very helpful because then you can get to the root to help bring awareness, and bringing awareness then allows to bring healing, and upon your soul's readiness too, because everyone's readiness is different of when they choose to shift as well, and to be able to integrate.
Thank you. And now I know you started off as an architecture on your journey. Can you please tell us a little bit about that journey? Because I'm so fascinated in how now you kind of work with energy architecture, but it wasn't always that way. Can you please tell us about your journey?
Yeah, so formerly I was an architectural technologist and I worked in the architectural industry for 7 years. That was like my main study. And I always say, like, everything that you've done in the past is always a gift for what you're doing now and also for the future. They have tools. There's a reason why you've been guided to do these things. And with architecture, the gift that it brought me was being able to channel sacred geometric images. And that just happened one day working on a site plan. For whatever reason, I kept being put into doing site plans. And site plans are basically doing an aerial view drawing of a piece of land with buildings. And I worked a lot with more retail buildings versus residential. And I was always into crop circles as well, like looking at crop circles, how they were formed. There's this, like, I would say, the galactic part of me that is so fascinated. And one day in 2008, I was working on just a site plan and I started channeling these sacred geometric images and my coworker could feel it. And she was like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I don't know." And so I worked on it a little bit at work through lunch, and then I sent the image home. And then when I printed it out at home, I felt this immense energy and almost like a homecoming. I just cried. And geometry is is more than just words. It's frequency, it's light, it's sound, all in visually, like color as well, like where you can't see in the 3D realm. And the sound can be non-auditory as well because it's a certain kind of frequency. And so how that really came about is I just started doing more of generic, I call them star activation soul blueprints. So the soul blueprint are just like the blueprint of your soul. And the star activations are the activations that come from our galactic self. We all have access to our galactic self. We're multidimensional beings. And through that, a lot of the creativity got activated. And also, I feel with working with sexual energy as well, that really opened up this portal, like working in the records and working with sexual energy, just opened this whole level of creativity to the point where people wanted their own personalized soul blueprint, which I've been doing. And then I get very specific messages for that person about their mission, their gifts, or where they need to focus their time and energy. And that just allows them to get confirmation on what they've already known deep down inside, but maybe they were afraid to share it to the world. And I've had some crazy, amazing experiences and witnessing and doing the soul blueprints and what's come forward to people, channeling their books or starting a chocolate line, like all these different things that have come through because they're no longer fitting themselves into a box, especially like I would say in the earlier years of the coaching industry, there was such a template of how to do this, how to be this, where it can also be very stifling and very limiting as well. Um, so geometry is a really big part of my life.
And I love that it came through kind of organically through your 3D job per se, which is an invitation for all of our audience to just know that kind of listen to what's coming through, even in the most mundane of situations that soul of a universe is talking to you. Um, I'd love for you to talk a little bit. You mentioned, um, yeah, speaking before. Can you please uh, connect how our voice is deeply connected to our sexuality as well?
So, one of the biggest things is about our voice and our expression and our larynx, like our throat is parallel to our womb space or vagina or cervix or uterus. If you were to look at an image of the throat, the larynx, and compare it to the womb of the uterus, the cervix, and the vagina, they're very similar. And one of the major things, even in my own personal experience as well, of healing my sexual energy and doing a lot of somatic practices around like my own self-pleasure practices, my yoni massage, my vulva mapping, and really bringing awareness to my womb space. Even for myself personally, I started to notice my voice open up even more, my expression, and not just vocally, even like creatively, like through music, etc. And and also with the voice, it's more about you being able to speak your truth, being able to um, share like your boundaries, your gifts, and whatever's coming through. That just comes really deep within the womb space. We think about intuition of like coming from the heart in our third eye, but there's also a deep level of intuition and wisdom that comes from the womb space, that comes from the sacral. And so once we connect to that space, it just takes you to a whole nother level of expansion and openness and even expression, and people can feel it. They sense it. They feel a connection versus a disconnection. And and so the voice and expression is definitely important. And when I've noticed if someone's got, and I've gone through it too, where it's like our voice feels contracted, then it's like that's a sign of like, okay, where am I contracted in my womb space? Where am I not expanding? And it might be as simple as being able to move your body, moving your hips, breathing into the hips, making some sounds to just like breathe energy into those areas where you feel that stagnation. And sometimes part of the somatic practices that I get some of my clients to do is a form of breath work. And it's so interesting to hear the breathing patterns, right? Sometimes it can be like a ha, like a very hard breath out of and how the person uses their voice. So once you're able to bring it back into harmony and co-regulate your nervous system, the huh or the huh, the lack of being able to say anything becomes expanded and it's like, and there's just like, oh, this feels good. This feels juicy. This feels great. And I feel freedom. I feel liberated.
Yeah, I felt you just feel it when you can just breathe and not feel that contraction, but so many of us have in this lifetime or many other incarnations had our throats, voices shut down or our sexuality repressed, especially through patriarchal times, right? The feminine has been shut down because of the power that comes when a woman is connected in with her sacral energy. I have two avenues. um, can you work with men as well? And then I'll ask you the next question.
Mhm. Yeah, I do work with men as well, because I do get men that come forward and less more than women, but the men that do come forward have already started doing their inner work and are on their journey and may still have some challenges around feeling disconnected from their purpose or they feel ashamed. There's so much shame that gets embedded in men as well, where then they're not able to show up for themselves and for others as well. Addiction to porn and feeling ashamed of that because they don't know how to redirect their sexual energy and really understanding why they're being guided to always look at porn and other forms of addiction. There's other situations where they might have premature ejaculation or just like erectile challenges and are really embarrassed about it. So once they're really able to understand and how to co-regulate their nervous system and really understand the patterns and why they show up in their lives, it really expands their awareness, their presence, and how they even show up in their body, but also how they interact with others as well.
Yeah, I feel it's really important to be able to work with our brothers, with the
Yeah.
masculine as well, because this is how we heal each other. Like, not as ostracizing or putting anyone else down. It's lifting everybody up together. So it's very sacred work. Now, I know that you can work with timelines, so not necessarily just with what's going on now. I know there's future potential and you can work with timelines from the past. Can you tell us a little bit how that works and with the Akashic
Yeah.
records?
Yeah. So what's really cool in the Akashic Records is that you can do a future progression. And when you do a future progression, like understanding that these are just trajectories, right? Of what your soul is ready to call into the now. And also with I past life regression, to me it's more that's us looking in a very linear perspective, but the reality is everything exists in the now. So we're very interdimensional. So I call it parallel lives. But to make our brain understand it, we could call it past lives, right? And so these could be situations where, let's just say you, and I've seen it happen, let's just say in this lifetime, you and your mom keep fighting, and you're like, I don't know why this bickering keeps happening, and I don't know why she has a sense of deep jealousy towards me. This makes no sense. Like, I've been a good girl all along. What can show up in the Akashic records is understanding the contract, the soul contract for you and your mom, for example. And it might be that, you two were sisters in another lifetime and you took her lover away. And because of that, um, she's resented you, and there could have been some death involved as well. So in this lifetime, you've contracted to heal that relationship and that dynamic. So we might be given soul contracts when we meet someone, and I also feel it's important to really, as we focus on the now, to not get too hung up on past life interference unless we know it's legit interfering, because that can also be a form of escapism or even spiritual bypassing of actually not focusing what's happening currently in the now. I've had people who've come into relationships and they're like, is he my twin flame? Is he my soulmate? I feel like he was like my past lover in a past life, and that's why our relationship is toxic. And I know I'm meant to be with him. And then it's like, actually, no, it's not healthy. It's more karmic, and you've come into this lifetime, and sometimes they get upset when they actually hear the actual truth because they realize that they were more hung up on the illusion of a past life connection. Because in their mind, they were trying to make sense of why karmically everything felt so intense. But it's basically their trauma response matches your trauma response with your nervous system as well. So there's a really fine line of when we access these parts of ourselves, and calling in the universal truth. So the universal truth goes beyond what the human truth is. And you can request, what is the universal truth of my connection with so and so? And you'll feel that in your body. You might not even get word for word what that is, but you'll feel the energy. Because again, some things go beyond what the human brain can understand when we're working in our Akashic records, when we're working with geometry and energy just in general. Future progression, I love because you can progress to your future self, let's just say 12 months from now, to receive answers of like, how do I get there? And what does my current self need to hear from my future self to help me shift this? So this is a great practice to connect with your future self, and I would say connect with your future human self. So when you request to connect to your future human self 12 months from now, 36 months from now, and allowing that energy to come to you, then in the records you can ask the questions that you want to ask to give you the information that's needed to support with your current situation. But that's how you're able to bend time and energy too, because when the clearing happens, there is a bending time and energy, and then you're all of a sudden it's like your future self is in the now. And again, this is really upon your soul's readiness. Like sometimes people are like, well, my future self is a multi-millionaire and da da da. And right now I'm in debt, and I'm trying to bring it to the now. But it's there's steps as well within that, and how to get there. It can happen overnight, who knows? But it's also like being really mindful and understanding where you're at energetically. And also we all have our soul's readiness of how much we are willing and ready to shift.
I really love this because some people, it's kind of become like a trend to romanticize past lives, right? And I was this in a past life and I was this person. But yeah, it is, can be a way of that escapism of, yes, and what have you come, what gifts or what challenges have you come with in this life in order to alchemize and become the best person you can be in this life, who has the potential to be even greater than that person was. So it's like what I'm hearing is, just honoring the past, but also we have this future potential, um, that is available to us so that we're not really ever alone.
Yeah.
Often people are lonely or feel that there's no one else out there. It's just them. But with steps, and I will ask you about those later on, we can connect with our future self, who is there as our greatest cheerleader, right? Yeah. And but at the start, I heard you mention there were like three pathways that you can go on. One is joy, or can you talk a little bit more about these pathways?
So, like the least joyous path, the mediocre path, or the most joyous path. So the least joyous path is more of coming from a place of victim energy. So it's more of like everything keeps happening to me, the world is shits and everything keeps happening to me versus me taking personal responsibility. So really staying from that victim standpoint of it's more of a passive state and it's harder to shift energy in that state. And the least choice path might be what you need to get the 4x4 to learn the lesson that you need to learn, because maybe that's what your soul actually really needed to learn those lessons. The mediocre path is kind of like in between. So you're kind of stepping out of the victim energy into more an active participant. So you're being active of like, oh, I noticed this is showing up here. So I'm gonna just be present to it and be open and receptive. So, at least when you're more in the mediocre path, there's more of this openness and receptivity to shifting energy. It's really hard to shift energy when you're in the victim standpoint. And that's why the lessons can be even harder, because it's like the universe needing to yell at you to, to get the point, right? Um, and then the most joyous path is like being empowered. It's like, all right, I'm willing to be an empowered participant, and I acknowledge that I feel really angry at for example, at this situation. I acknowledge this anger, and I'm willing to go deeper and ask what this is really about. And there's an openness there. If you come from a victim standpoint and be like, you did this to me and blah blah blah, and this is more of like personal situations as well. And of course, under like certain circumstances, such as rape or something, like those are very intense things. Those are like, you can heal in the records of like, okay, where did this come from and why did this come into my life without having to bypass what just happened? You can still be in that place of empowerment, um, and receive the healing and still experience your anger, still experience your rage. And because we need to feel those emotions, we need to move through that. So, I also want to mention that this isn't about bypassing like actual, situations that do happen to people that are, we can't just be all love and light. Um, but when you open up the records, it's like, okay, I'm ready to heal this. Like, what do I need to see? And where does this pattern come from?
Yeah, that not toxic positivity and not bypassing, but knowing that there is a road there that is deeply healing and available to you. And so that brings me, are there archetypes within the Akashic records?
Not really. Like, I don't get shown archetypes. The only thing that I might get shown if someone is super galactic, if someone's very elemental or very planetarian, like there's a certain frequency and energy that gives off to someone. Like you can clearly, when you look at someone who's elemental, like there's this vibe, you know what I mean? And even like the nuances of how they deeply connect with nature and know how to take care of plants, like um and someone who's very galactic, like they're very connected to the star system, or there could be someone that's connected to both realms as well. So more in that way. I don't necessarily, I mean, once in a while I'll get the connection to like Saint Germain or Kuan Yin, very rarely, but it's more you connecting with yourself, your higher self, and receiving those answers versus I don't want to use the word outsourcing, but versus sourcing out different archetypes to make sense of who you are than just understanding that you are your own archetype, if that makes sense.
And you are your own librarian
Yeah.
as as well. You are your own librarian. Okay, so can you please tell me a little bit about your journey with music? Because I know in your bio you're a DJ and a producer. Can you please tell us all about your music?
Yeah. So what's so wild is I was self-taught by an ex-boyfriend of mine back in 2010 of learning how to DJ. And he was a DJ, uh, yoga teacher into superfoods and everything. And it was a very karmic relationship. And the beauty of it all was this person really opened up my creativity. And I was already on this exploration of understanding what sexual energy was all about. Um, and he asked me a question. He goes, if you were to do anything, what is it that you would love to do? And I said, well, I see myself DJing and like in these domes and with sacred geometry on like on the domes, like reflecting, like taking people on experiential journey. And he goes, great, I'm going to teach you how to DJ. And so he would make me do, like, he would go to bed at night and he would make me do like half-hour DJ sets. And then he would listen to it the next day and critique it. So that was kind of like the starting of like, okay, and there would be like house parties, and then I would get to DJ, with them back to back or whatever. And then eventually in 2012, 13, I went to a professional DJ school to properly learn how to DJ. I was still in the closet about it too. And this also ties into the sexual energy work because even in my business, I was focused more on soul's purpose, and the sexual energy was still like there, like programs, but it was more on the side. I still wasn't ready to come out to reveal to the world, this is what I do. And um, basically, after, and the music just kept going, and then I started to learn how to produce in 2019, and I was doing more local gigs. But it wasn't until like 2021 where I was like, okay, I'm gonna learn how to make music like even better and hire a professional to teach me how to use a software. And so I hired someone from the UK, and that just opened up the door for me, where I now work with a different mentor. I have a South Asian mentor from New York. He's actually a big DJ producer, and he has a massive wait list, like a massive wait list. And I just applied for his program. I was like, I need to do this, and I got in. So he picked me. And so to me, energy always like when you know, and you will receive exactly what you need and support to getting your gifts out there. Um, and so he's been supporting me and helping me craft my music, my sound. And right now I already have a track out on a big label. And on the same label, I have an EP. So I have 3 tracks that are going to be coming out in the next few months. And the label or the EP is called Echoes of the Soul, which is all about my whole journey and expression as well. And the tracks are Where Are You, Phoenix Rising, and Letting Go. So they all have its different flavor in it. So this is my way of expressing, but that's also due to the byproduct of me even connecting with my sexual energy even deeper and bridging that with the Akashic records. Had I not done that and do my own self, somatic practices as well, I don't feel like I would have allowed myself the to be able to express musically. So that goes back to the throat chakra thing, is like it also represents our expression of being able to come out there. And even with my business, people now know I'm a authentic talk to practitioner. They know that I teach about, sexual energy. I'm a sexologist. I'm not afraid of it anymore. It was like this thing that I was almost battling within myself, of like, what are people gonna say? I'm a South Asian woman, like what are other Indian people are gonna say? And then being okay with that, being okay to just be me, but also being that catalyst to open up and allow people to have this form of liberation.
That's so beautiful, and especially for us multi-passionate people who have all, you've taken these soul curiosities or these soul um, gifts that you have, and instead of shutting them away in a box to just take one avenue, you've actually like merged them all into this beautiful sacred container that you offer. And have you been able to have any DJ sets with the sacred geometry? Like, what was your original dream with your ex-partner?
Yeah. So after we broke up, I ended up doing, actually one time when we were still together, I ended up doing an event in a planetarium, Star Dome. So it's a dome at a planetarium in BC in Canada. And then following that, I did two others, and they were pretty much almost sold out shows. So I led more of a non-dancing format because you can't dance in the planetarium. There are assigned seats or there's chairs. You can't dance in the for just so that no one trips. So I gave it more of an ambient experience where the geometry was projected in the dome, and there was like ambient electronic music, and I led kind of more of like a guided activation as well. So people left being like, feeling a deep shift. Um, so that's definitely manifested. And then I have a SoundCloud where I do intentional DJ sets. So it's without the visuals, where every song I really pick and choose, like, how does it feel in the body? Is it intentional where, it helps to move energy? It really allows people to move forward. And I've gotten so many messages from people since I've started doing different DJ sets, that it got them through their day, and they keep playing it because it's really helped them to be creative. It activates that inner fire. I also have a YouTube channel under Karana where there are sacred geometric visuals. I've yet to update it. It's probably been a while since I posted a set because it does take time to like do the sacred geometric visuals and then be able to post it. But I've done visuals in the past, that's assisted with the music. Yeah.
And we're going to talk a little bit about your free gifts in just a bit, which speaks to the music as well. For our beautiful audience, do you have any practical or embodied steps that they could take today to connect in with their Akashic records or their sexuality or anything else that you've spoken about today?
Yeah, I do feel like it's important to set your intentions. I always believe that energy follows intent. So if you wake up in the morning and it's raining outside and you intend that it's going to be a shitty day, it will be a shitty day. So being mindful of like when you wake up, even if you feel off and you're like, okay, taking a moment for yourself, whether it's making that cup of tea or coffee or having that glass of water, and just having a moment and be like, okay, what are my intentions today? How do I want to show up in my body? How do I want my experiences to be like? So it can be such as I choose to be grounded, I choose to be embodied, I choose to be anchored in my truth and my power. And please allow all my interactions to be loving, to be joyous, to be amazing, and that the outcome is more than what I could ever ask for. And just let it go. And just notice what happens for you as you intend that. It's such a simple thing, but it's like brushing your teeth when you just set an intention. And that it also doesn't allow other external intentions to override you as well. And just like you're able to, even if someone is, let's just say, you go for coffee and a person yelled at you just randomly, and you're like, well, that's weird. I intended to have a really good day, you know? But also notice how you feel when that person says that. Maybe you notice because you've intended to be empowered and grounded, you're less reactive and you're more in this observant space, being like, wow, that's interesting. Wonder what's going on for them. And I'm just going to choose to not take that on and move on. Or you might be even more present to maybe it's someone that you know and being able to be present versus being triggered.
That's really beautiful and important to becoming the observer, bring that curiosity rather than get stuck in the story per se of what could potentially spiral into, oh nice, I today was going to be a good day and now it's just effed, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like what for me, again, choosing the path of joy that you spoke of. Like which path are you going to choose? Mm. Now we have some beautiful gifts for everyone today. Can you please tell us a little bit about your free gift, which is unlock your sacral power, remove energy blocks, and reignite your fire with this powerful energy activation?
Yeah, so this activation you can use anytime whenever you need a tune up, whenever you actually just want to set your intentions for the day, or maybe you've had a big day and you just need to just take a moment for yourself to just reset. Definitely don't be using this when you're driving just because you're going to be moving through energy. So, and kind of going into an altered state. So you just want to be either just sitting down comfortably or lying back and closing your eyes. And all you got to do is press play, and you'll receive exactly what you need to receive in that moment. It might feel stronger one day, or it might feel like you just needed one little thing from that activation that helped you move mountains. So, this is really working with the sacral energy and the Akashic field to just remove any energetic blocks as well. So,
And we're going to link your SoundCloud as well so people can experience your music and your sacred geometry as well. We're going to share a link for that. So please go and check out all of this incredible deliciousness from Baljit. And it's just been such an honor to connect with you. Um, yeah, and to all of our audience tuning in, you'll be able to find Baljit's website as well, where you ought to connect if you feel that deeper calling. Thank you, everybody. Sending so much love and creativity to all as you go about your day.